4:20 a.m. local time. A formation of F-15 Strike Eagles is executing a supersonic ingress into Syrian border airspace at Mach 1.2. The directive: systematically liquidate 70 command nodes identified on a high-priority intelligence ledger. The adversary operates with cunning precision. Syrian operators manage their S-band emitters using a radar blink protocol, activating power for exactly 3 seconds to update tracking telemetry before cutting the feed and executing an immediate frequency hop. This intermittent emission serves as a sophisticated electromagnetic shield, inducing signal jitter in coalition sensors and severing the guidance loops of American anti-radiation missiles. However, the Pentagon neutralized this mathematical defense by auditing the human variable. Knowing that the Syrian radar crews rotate shifts at 5 a.m., American mission planners advanced the strike window by 20 minutes. The goal: exploit the peak of biological fatigue in the outgoing shift, a moment when neurological focus degrades, and the 3-second deactivation protocol suffers from lethal latency. A mere 1-second delay in human response is the only margin required. In that single second of exhaustion, the entire air defense network is stripped of its anonymity and permanently mapped onto the F-15's thermal targeting arrays. 5:05 a.m. The F-15 flight enters the terminal attack phase against the primary underground command nodes. As the AAQ-33 sniper pods begin dissecting the geological layers for a confirmed lock, the adversary reveals their technical cunning. Sensing the incoming laser designation, mobile generators across the compound vent conductive carbon aerosol, engulfing the base in an opaque electromagnetic wall. The APG-82 radar pulses scatter. The sniper pod's optical feed goes dark. It is a desperate attempt to induce a break lock. It's like trying to photograph a ghost inside a bottle of black ink. Inside the cockpit, the sensor fusion system flags a target loss, but the Weapons Systems Officer, WSO, is already one step ahead. He instantly overrides the primary logic, slaving the sensors to spectral differencing. He is no longer looking for the geometry of a building. He is auditing thermal leakage. The enemy can wrap their bunkers in desert stone, but they cannot defeat thermodynamics. Ventilation shafts are venting CO, 2 at 38 degrees Celsius into a 5 degrees Celsius desert floor. On the WSO's display, these plumes ignite like unmaskable thermal beacons. Rifle. The GBU-31 JDAM is released from the pylon. Simultaneously, the adversary saturates the airspace with wideband GPS jamming, severing the bomb's satellite link. It is a futile gesture. The GBU-31 Silicon Brain instantly switches to inertial guidance, its titanium fins, adjusting 50 times per second to negate the high-altitude crosswinds. The weapon punches through the carbon screen at Mach 1.2, 0.1 seconds later. 945 pounds of tritonal convert the reinforced bunker into an expanding sphere of high-pressure dust. Structural liquidation is complete. As the dust settles from the F-15's high-altitude strikes, the mission transitions to the jagged terrain of northern Syria, where speed becomes a liability, and the landscape dictates the rules of engagement. At 0640 a.m., a flight of A-10 Thunderbolt IIs descends to 8,000 feet to sanitize objectives tucked deep within the mountain folds. The visibility is a clinical gray, the dangerous intersection of low-light and high-risk topography. The adversary, far from outmatched, initiates a calculated kinetic trap. 3 anti-aircraft artillery signatures flare on the A-10's infrared sensors. However, these are not active weapon systems, but wooden decoys powered by fuel-burning stoves. The decoy's thermal output is designed to simulate a high-priority threat, and the pilot responds exactly as the enemy intended, throttling back, extending flaps, and slowing the aircraft to a stable firing speed. In an instant, the A-10 enters a state of energy depletion, shedding the kinetic potential required for high-G evasive maneuvers. The hunter has been lured into a pre-calculated aerodynamic kill zone. Suddenly, the cockpit atmosphere shifts. Launch detection. From a thermal mass crevice on the canyon wall, the first SA-7 Grail screams off its rail, tracking the TF-34 engines. 2 seconds later, a second missile follows a ripple fire ambush, designed to saturate the pilot's reaction window and ensure total structural failure. The missile warning system, MWS, shrieks a continuous red line alarm. Launch! 5 o'clock! The pilot executes a desperate high-G brake to the left, forcing the airframe to its structural limits while hammering the flare release. A sequence of magnesium flares ignites at 2,000 degrees Celsius, saturating the localized airspace with an overwhelming infrared signature. To the SA-7's primitive uncooled seeker, the engine's 600 degrees Celsius heat signature becomes irrelevant. The missile acts as a moth to a flame. Blinded by the brilliance of the magnesium, it ignores the aircraft and detonates harmlessly in the slipstream. But the audit is only beginning. The smoke trail from the enemy launch point has already been mapped onto the head-up display, and the A-10's nose swings toward the rock face with lethal intent. This is the Avenger audit. As the 7-barrel rotary cannon spins, the firing barrel rotates to the 9 o'clock position, aligning it perfectly with the aircraft's center of mass to negate the 5 tons of recoil. In a singular, 2-second mechanical roar, 140 rounds of 30mm depleted uranium tear through the canyon. The armor-piercing rounds grind the ambush site into radioactive dust before the enemy operators can even begin the reload cycle. By 10:35 a.m., the intense low-altitude clearance by the A-10S concludes, but a new tactical vulnerability emerges: the fuel gauge. As the F-15S and A-10S simultaneously break station to rendezvous with overhead tankers, a 20-minute refueling gap opens across the theater. On the tactical map, this is a calculated void, and the adversary, far from being an amateur observer, is ready to exploit it. This is the Delta T race, a high-stakes audit of movement versus telemetry. Seizing the temporary absence of air superiority, the opponent orders their mobile ballistic missile launchers to egress from reinforced bunkers and establish firing positions. They move with speed, believing the sky is empty. They are wrong. High-altitude ISR drones, invisible to local sensors, have already locked onto the movement, transmitting precise target coordinates via link 16 directly to a HIMARS battery stationed across the border in the Jordanian desert. Without a second of hesitation, 3 M31 Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System (GMLRS) missiles ignite, screaming toward their targets 50 miles away. The counterplay begins in milliseconds. Hidden within civilian transport trucks, the adversary's counter-battery radars detect the M31 ignition plumes. It takes the enemy's fire control computers exactly 15 seconds to calculate the back azimuth, the mathematical reverse engineering of the missile's origin point. 20 seconds after the initial American launch, the desert erupts as the opponent's 82mm mortars and 107mm rockets saturate the HIMARS's firing coordinates in a desperate bid to neutralize the battery's mobility. But the calculus of displacement is already ahead of the curve. This is the 30-second race. The moment the final M31 clears the rail, the HIMARS crew triggers an automated 12-second pod retraction. The driver floors the accelerator, reaching a displacement velocity of 60 kilometers per hour. By the time 18 seconds have passed, the vehicle is clear. Total time from launch to total disappearance, exactly 30 seconds. To the adversary's artillery crews, attempting to hit the HIMARS now is like trying to punch the shadow of a man who left the room half a minute ago. The result is a clinical display of wasted energy versus surgical precision. The enemy's counter-barrage impacts a patch of empty dirt, shredding the terrain 1 to 1,000 meters behind the retreating American vehicles. Simultaneously, the M31 missiles complete their 50-mile transit with single-digit meter accuracy. They strike the mobile launchers when they are a mere 40 meters from the safety of their bunkers. The refueling gap, intended to be a window of opportunity for the extremist forces, becomes the graveyard for their most valuable mobile assets. The Delta T audit is closed. As the HIMARS launchers displace back into the Jordanian sands, the final audit shifts to the jagged vertical landscape of the Syrian interior. The mission's endgame requires a level of surgical discrimination that only a low-altitude predator can provide. 11:40 a.m. A pair of AH-64 Apaches enters the target sector, executing a high-stakes ingress at just 200 feet above ground level. They are hugging the wadi's deep, dry riverbeds to vanish from long-range observation. The objective is a hardened weapons storage facility excavated deep into a mountain face with a narrow, high-angle aperture. The adversary, far from blind, has established a kinetic mousetrap. Instead of aiming directly at the helicopters, they have set up Zu-232 anti-aircraft batteries in a sophisticated crossfire. They are shooting at nodal points, the predictable geographic gaps the Apaches must navigate. Relying on acoustic detection as the engine noise echoes off the canyon walls, the enemy saturates the airspace with 23mm rounds at a rate of 400 per minute. Tracer fire raking the rock faces only 30 meters from the airframes, creating a lethal dynamic barrier. The response is a clinical demonstration of look-to-shoot integration. The Apache gunner activates the TAD system, slaving the 30mm chain gun to magnetic sensors in his helmet. The weapon system tracks his gaze with a refresh frequency of 60 updates per second, erasing the boundary between human intent and machine execution. Within exactly 4 seconds of target acquisition, the 30mm rounds liquidate every Zu-23 position revealed by their own muzzle flashes. The hallway to the objective is now clear. To neutralize the cave's narrow protective geometry, the calculus deploys a final tactical magic trick. The two direct fire platforms engage in cooperative geometry. The lead Apache remains masked behind a ridgeline, exposing only its mass-mounted sensor to paint the cave entrance with an invisible laser designation. The second Apache, hovering in a separate canyon, launches a Hellfire missile in a loft trajectory. To the adversary, the first helicopter is the only threat they can see, while the lethal blow is descending from a blind spot they never thought to defend. 11:55 a.m. The Hellfire follows the laser reflection with an error margin of just 10 centimeters. The missile enters the cave mouth and triggers a dual-stage explosion, igniting the massive stockpile of munitions within. The resulting overpressure causes total structural liquidation, causing the entire mountain face to collapse onto the final command node. 12:30 p.m. The tactical map updates for the final time as the last coordinate turns gray. The weapon systems officer confirms the status: Winchester. The audit is closed. The adversary believed that silence and terrain were their ultimate shields, but they failed to account for the map. In modern warfare, the silence of the desert is not safety. It is merely the processing time between an update and an impact. Now, if you want to continue following the strategic strikes of Operation Epic Fury, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Military Calculus. Understand the tech that writes history. Goodbye.